Hi, my name is Eric. These are my video essay recording glasses. Not really. I had an issue with a contact lens that was so bad that I had to call out of work. After a couple hours of not doing anything, I decided to do a video essay. When you think about the prequel era of Star Wars, what comes to your mind? Some bad acting?
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating.
Bad writing?
Not like here.
I think depending on your age, you might have different opinions of the prequel era. Not the movies, but the era. And I think it's because while the movies are bad, the side projects are great. When I think about all the prequel era side projects, there's one that really comes to mind first. And no, it's not Clone Wars. It's actually the Starfighter series. See, before Dave Filoni and his team saved the prequel era, did some world building with their family-friendly, funny Clone Wars TV show, before they made characters like Ahsoka and Chad Bane, there was a different project that was kind of fleshing out this era, the Starfighter series. And unlike Clone Wars, which came out after the trilogy was done, these games were coming out with the movies. So you'd have Phantom Menace, and then you'd have a Starfighter game, then you'd have Attack of the Clones, Starfighter game, etc. Today I just really want to talk about the Starfighter series, and I want to talk about how not only are they really well-written games, not only are they better than the prequels in terms of story, but I think they're actually just better Star Wars stories. So the Starfighter series was made by LucasArts. Rest in peace to a great gaming studio. This studio also made the Jango Fett Bounty Hunter game.
May the best man win. I am the best. Like a panther.
The very first Starfighter game takes place during episode 1, and we have 4 main characters. So you have Rhys Dallows, who is a N1 Naboo Starfighter pilot.
Wizard.
He's actually one of the guys who has to protect Queen Amidala's ship as she escapes Naboo, and he actually watches as his friend and mentor gets shot down by a Trade Federation mercenary, and he ends up getting rescued by a Toydarian mechanic named Reddy, and he helps Rhys get off planet and continue on. Then you have Vanna Sage, who actually is a mercenary working for the Trade Federation. Luckily, she's not the one that just killed Rhys's friend, but she's actually been helping them test out their new droid fighters. As she's helping them test their droid starfighters, doing this temp consult job for them, she finds out about the illegal blockade of Naboo.
As you know, our blockade is perfectly legal.
And they decide to try and hunt her down and kill her for it, so she also switches sides. We also have Nim, who is the leader of a space pirate group called the Lock Revenants, who has been very anti-Trade Federation, so much so that they actually hired Vanna to capture him, and that's how he starts the game. So these are our 4 characters. This is peak Star Wars for me. This is why I love Star Wars. This is why I love the original trilogy, is it's not a bunch of characters who have the same opinions and thoughts. It's the same thing that I think makes Fellowship of the Ring great. You have people who have very different backgrounds, worldviews, life experiences, all coming together to fight against a common evil. I think that's something the prequels really missed for me. It's something that I kind of dislike about the prequel movies is while the first movie kind of has some of that going for it, it doesn't matter because everyone kind of has the same opinion of the Jedi. Compare Anakin's view of the Jedi versus someone like Han Solo's.
Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
You have these great scenes in the originals of how each of these people's opinions of good and evil is very different, but they all come together against the Empire. So the 4 main characters end up teaming up. They decide to protect Naboo from the Trade Federation, and interestingly enough, it actually recontextualizes a scene that I hate in Phantom Menace. I hate this scene so much. I get what we're going for. Anakin's destroying the droid control ship the same way Luke destroys the Death Star. I get it. But man, do I hate this scene. It's like the Jar Jar fight scenes. It's such an accident that he does it. He does none of the work. R2 does everything. Granted, R2 did destroy the Death Star. You can't tell me that Luke did any of that. But regardless, I hate watching Anakin just luck his way into his very first major victory. It doesn't really hit the way Trust the Force does in New Hope. So it turns out, while Anakin's in the droid ship, so is Rhys Dallows and the mercenary who killed his friend. And in my own personal headcanon, they're the ones that kind of loosened the pickle jar that is this droid ship. Like, they do most of the destruction, and then Anakin just gets, like, the final shot in, and I like that so much more. Also, who puts the thing that blows up your ship in the hangar? Why is your entire, like, blow up the ship button the most accessible part of your ship? It's a good game. It came out right after Phantom Menace, but I also love that, like, they're already kind of recontextualizing the movie that they're basing it off of. And to that point too, when a movie studio got a video game adaptation made for them, it was usually the exact same plot but told with worse pacing and terrible gameplay. Like, I can think of games I played at this time where they would just take scenes from the movie and turn them into cutscenes with either really bad rendered graphics or they would just play it fully rendered. I think my favorite video game adaptations are the ones that tell new stories. All in all, Starfighter is a good game, but man, does its sequel blow it out of the water. And I think there's a distinction between a good thing, like a good game, and a good sequel. So let's talk about it. So full disclosure, actually, I didn't know it was a sequel when I played it the first time. I got that game first. The Jedi Starfighter game came out. It wasn't called Starfighter 2, so I didn't know it was a sequel. So I just kind of picked it up and I played it. And I think that's for the better because it proves just how well written it is. Not only is this a game with good gameplay, you get to go pew 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 with your starship, not only is there like really good, amazing humor and good writing and good voice acting, but it's a great sequel. If you played the first game, it doesn't over-explain stuff to you in the second game, but if you didn't play the first game, you didn't need to, and I think it's just so well done. Usually the way you accomplish something like this when you have a sequel that doesn't require you to watch the first thing is you accomplish it by doing an anthology. All new characters, all new setting, but this is a lot of returning characters. Nim's back, Reddy's back, but you still don't need to have played it. And I think it's because they bank off of what makes Star Wars again. Part of what makes the original trilogy so great is that how everything feels so lived in. You know, all these characters have history. We don't need to know anything about Han Solo's backstory to get who he is. We don't need to know how he got his, blaster or the Millennium Falcon or that a guy in the Empire gave him his own name. We don't need to know any of that stuff. In the same way, you don't need to know how Nim became captain of the Space Pirates or who the Lock Revenants are individually. All Nim has to do is offhandedly mention that he's been fighting the Trade Federation for 10 years without the help of the Republic, and you get everything you need to know. If you played the first game, you know exactly what he's talking about. If you didn't play the first game, it just makes sense to you. This is a guy who's cynical and angry at the Republic for not helping him. He's watched his comrades die and get captured by the Trade Federation. It has been an entire decade since the blockade of Naboo, and the Republic has done nothing, in his opinion. And that just works. So let's talk about the plot real quick. So it's been 10 years since Episode 1. Mace Windu is sending Jedi Master Adi Gallia to go meet up with Nim to investigate a Trade Federation plot to create a new weapon.
Hey, look, come here, man. Just tell me the truth, okay? Does this robe make me look fat?
First off, let me just say, this is my favorite part about Clone Wars, is giving more character to the Jedi Masters. I love how Clone Wars does Plo Koon and Kit Fisto, how I know all this stuff about all these other characters like Yalriel Poof.
Can I ask what the prophecy is? Why is that something I don't know?
I will tell him of the Council's decision tomorrow.
Oh, so it's a council now? It's not just the two of you?
Instead of just keeping them as action figures on a shelf, we actually gave them backstories and storylines. So at the very beginning of the game, we do get a short tutorial, which is skippable, which honestly, more games need to have a skippable tutorial. I can't believe that's a thing that still doesn't exist and existed 20 years ago. But what I do love is I've actually never once skipped the tutorial other than when I speedrun the game because I love it so much. Not only is it really just a fun game and like I just enjoy the gameplay enough to play the tutorial, but the tutorial also has like just really funny writing. But yeah, so Mace Windu has sent Adi Gallia to go investigate specifically the Trade Federation's new biochemical weapon. A plotline so good Clone Wars did the exact same plot. And honestly, why wouldn't you? If you have an army made of robots, why wouldn't you use a biochemical weapon? But anyway, Adi Gallia meets with Nim and finds out that in the same system that Nim has been operating in, there is a new bad guy named Kavik Toth.
Greetings, Captain Toth. I trust we can speak freely.
Ah, Count Dooku. What a pleasant interruption. Dooku.
And he's been hired by Count Dooku to make this new, evil biochemical weapon.
Trihexalon. We call it Dragon's Breath. It was created exactly to your specifications.
Have you tested it?
Not yet, but we believe it will be quite effective. That vial alone could kill 300 Wookiees.
The marketing lower third of Trihexalon. A single vial. A vial a day keeps the Wookiees away. But anyway, Jedi Master Gallia ends up over with Nim And it starts off this really cool buddy cop dynamic that they have going for them, where like Nim is your rough and tough, like cynical, has seen it all space pirate, and Adigalia is kind of naive. She's very philosophical with like how she looks at the Jedi Code and Jedi Order. But together the two of them kind of bounce off each other as we go through the game. So the final battle happens over Geonosis, while Yoda is bringing the clones to save Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Padme. Final battle happens where Kavik Toth is going to use the remaining Trihexalon to wipe out the Jedi. I love this as a decision. Obviously, it's not going to change Episode 2's ending, but what I love about it is it makes destroying every Trihexalon missile feel kind of important. To this day, when I'm watching the like Coliseum scenes in Episode 2, I just look up a little bit and think, out in space, you have Adigalia and the other Jedi, and you have Nim and the Lock Revenants trying to destroy all these ships, while everything's going on Geonosis. I think it's such a great moment. According to Amy Beth Christensen, who is a concept artist for the game, apparently Kavik Toth's actual design was based off of her boss, Tim Longo, which I love that as a fact. Real quick, this is now an Amy Beth Christensen appreciation post. She did a lot of the concept art for this game, Force Unleashed, Rebels, Clone Wars, just a lot of Star Wars stuff. And I honestly think Star Wars is at its absolute best when you can tell that the people making Star Wars love Star Wars. Like, I think the reason people love Mandalorian isn't just because it's so good, but because like you can tell that Dave Filoni and the team just love Star Wars. And that's something that kind of was missing for me in like the sequel trilogy, where like it didn't feel like everyone was like a huge Star Wars fan who was working on the writing and the directing, but people who had kind of like, oh, I've seen the movies when I was a kid, so maybe this will come out, pretty good. There's a really cool bonus feature in Jedi Starfighter, which is called My Day at Work, which was something Amy Beth Christensen made. And it's just like a little animatic of her going through her day at work. I used to watch that constantly as a little kid because I couldn't play the video game, but I'd watch that over and over again. And it's so funny to me as an adult because like most of it is just kind of like office humor jokes that like are funnier to me now because I work in marketing. But like as a kid, it was funny and it was Star Wars and I loved it. And there was a lot of great bonus features on this game. There was a blooper reel, there were trailers for other games. You could replay the game as a Republic gunship and just, overpower everything. And I think a lot of modern Star Wars games are just missing that. They're missing that little touch of humor. I mean, obviously the Lego Star Wars game has it, but like a lot of other games don't. Like I always go back to Force Unleashed because like in Force Unleashed for the Wii, you could play the entire game as Admiral Akbar, which was like my favorite thing to do as a kid because it's just so stupid. And I'm just like, I feel like a lot of games are missing that charm. But more important than the charm, the humor, and the gameplay is the story. I think both Jedi Starfighter and Naboo Starfighter, they have such this really great story that kind of fits to the original trilogy. You have different people all working together, you have a lived-in galaxy, you have these really great stakes and tension, great writing, great humor, the characters have great chemistry together, and it's just better than the prequels, and it's better Star Wars than the prequels. I love it so much, but of course we can't talk about Jedi Starfighter without talking about what happened next. So about halfway through the Jedi Starfighter game, and I hate to spoil this for people, but Reddy, that Toydarian mechanic from earlier, is still working for Nim, and it turns out Jango Fett has come to hunt him down, which is great product synergy between your two games. But yeah, Jango Fett comes to kill Reddy, Reddy gets away, and at the very end of the game, Vanna Sage contacts Nim and says that they found Reddy, but he's in serious danger. It's the perfect setup for the third game, so let's get into talking about the third Starfighter game.
There's nothing here!
It was never made. So real quick, this is time for me to switch into a different video essay. We're gonna change the essay a little bit. So, hi Dave Filoni. It's me, a person that you've never heard of before. I love the Star Wars video games. Many of them are really great. Some of them I love more than the Star Wars movies. Some of them aren't good at all, but I just love the Star Wars games, but most of them aren't canon anymore, and I get why they aren't canon anymore. You can't really make Starkiller from Force Unleashed canon. He kind of does a lot of stuff that kind of undoes things that happen in Rebels and undoes things that happen in Clone Wars, but hi, can you make Nim canon for me? You have this really awesome habit of like bringing Thrawn into Rebels.
Trash.
My apologies, Captain Slavin. I forgot not everyone is able to appreciate art as I do.
I just want Nim to be canon again. And here's my little thing for this. I don't want Nim to be canon in like a cameo way. I actually have a pitch. So here's my elevator pitch. Put Nim in Bad Batch. Because I don't want Nim in Mandalorian as a live action character. As much as I would love that, I don't think he should still be alive. Quick note, there was some other Nim content. He was in Star Wars Galaxies, which was an MMORPG. It was, back when this was canon, it was true that like Han at one point even contacts Nim after episode 4 to help fight against the Empire, and Nim says no. So like there is this like Han and Nim relationship, but I don't really want Nim in a post-Empire world. I love the post-Empire world that's being built right now with Mandalorian and Boba Fett and everything, but I think Nim fits best in Bad Batch. And here's why. So you have the Bad Batch, who were created by the Republic for the Republic and are dealing with this terrible betrayal by the new Empire. And they're dealing with that betrayal in a variety of ways. There's some existential stuff, but there's also the very pressing real matter that they need to find a way to make their way in the galaxy. Much like their template before them, they have to find shelter, they need to find food and money, and they have skills. They have the skills to become really good bounty hunters or mercenaries. They need to take care of Omega, and they also need to stay off the grid to stay away from Crosshair. So they should go to Locke. And it makes sense that they would end up at a place like Locke, at a place like, if Han Solo knows Nim in the fake canon of Star Wars Legends, it would make sense that Nim has enough of a reputation that they could go to Locke, and Nim is the perfect person for them to meet, because you have Nim, who is anti-Trade Federation, anti-clankers, you know, he hates the Trade Federation, he fought them for most of his life, but he also doesn't like the Republic, and he has this really interesting dynamic view of the Republic that kind of echoes where the Bad Batch is right now in their own development. How does Nim react to the news that Adi Gallia has died? How would Nim react to meeting the Bad Batch, knowing about Order 66? Does he know about Order 66? Does he know that she died? How does he feel that the Empire now exists? You know, does he see it as something that was, you know, kind of going to happen because he already hated the Republic? Where is Ready? Can someone please answer that for me? I'm not saying I want the Bad Batch and Nim to team up and go save Ready, but I'm not saying I want that. I'm not a writer. I mean, I do write because I work at an ad agency, but like, if you want me to ghost write an episode of Bad Batch, I'll definitely do it. Anyway, this is a really weird tangent that this has gone on, and I think we're at the end of the video essay now. Hi, I'm Eric. I hope you enjoyed this video essay. It was kind of all over the place, especially at the end there, but I hope you liked it. Leave a comment, like, and do the other YouTube-y things. I'm also a Twitch streamer. In fact, the reason I made this is because I've been speedrunning Jedi Starfighter. I actually have the world record for the PS5 and the second best record overall, but that's because no one else plays this game, and it needs more love, it deserves more love. The team that made this game was awesome, and I love their work. If you like this video and you want me to make other video essays, I have some scripts for some video essays. They go more into like film terminology and like theming and stuff like that because I was a film student for a while. I decided not to open with one of those because they're kind of more focused on defining film terms through Star Wars and Marvel. I think they could be kind of fun. They also have some hot takes that I think would get me a lot of hate comments. Like, I'm hoping that by making a video essay about how much I love a video game, there isn't just gonna be a comment like, screw you, I hate Jedi Starfighter. But I just said that out loud, so now someone's gonna have to do it, and it's gonna somehow end up being the top comment. But anyway, hey, thank you so much for watching. I'm very happy that you watched the video and made it this far. Anyway, rambling over, have a good day.